welcome to Reflections with Rhonda Jones and my co-host Monica Livingston, and Ruthie Wyburn is our guest today. She's our guest, wisdom. And so we're going to let her sort of be the battering, I was going to say ram, but that didn't sound too good, but we'll call her a battering ram. She can bat things back and forth with us and tell us if we're on the right track according to her opinion. Today we're sort of giving Monica not an interview, but an almost on-the-job training, because next week she will be the one and only host of the show, as I will be out of town for the weekend, and Monica will be the actual one and only host. So we're going to give her.
You just made our ratings for next week shoot way down. They know to miss that show.
No, it's going to be a great show next week.
Tune in, y'all can send your complaints. She'll give you the number.
It'll be just fine. But first things out of the gate, Monica's going to start us off with some subjects that Ruthie and I will be talking about with her.
I saw on Yahoo a few weeks ago, and I thought it was just something that we probably all should just kind of think about, because I think we all have the tendency to every once in a while procrastinate.
Okay, well, we can do that one later. What's the next subject?
I think we ought to just get it over with.
Get it over with?
But it's five tips to, avoid procrastination. One is don't wait on perfection. A lot of people will wait on the perfect time to do this or the perfect time to do that, and it's telling you that, don't wait for perfection, because the perfect time to do something doesn't always come about. So that was the first tip. Second is create a sense of urgency. Make it something that you just have to get done.
Well, usually if you procrastinate, then it will be a sense of urgency. So.
That's true. If you put it off to the day that, it's due, yeah.
Yeah.
See, so I see procrastination.
Don't put off till tomorrow what you can do yesterday.
Ooh, you caught me on that one. I thought you were going to say until today.
I knew that. I knew you was expecting something different.
And it does say that. It says, have you ever wondered why you can be really productive when you're facing a tight deadline, but a simple task can take you hours to complete? And it's because you chalked it up to the pressure. You can chalk it up to the pressure because you're under that pressure. There's that sense of urgency. I have to get it done. So you're able to just kind of kick it into high gear and get it done. So I think that the thing that they're saying is that you should try and do that with every task that you have to do. Just make a deadline to do it and put the pressure on so that you get it done.
And procrastination helps you do that, just saying. What's the next one?
Break the large project into a little task. Like house cleaning, for instance. If you've got company coming and you've got, a couple days to do it, maybe break it up in little tasks. Today's going to be bathrooms, tomorrow's going to be kitchen, the next day's going to be, the bedrooms or whatever. And then it doesn't seem so insurmountable,
Yeah.
So.
Ruthie, how would you handle that task?
Well, you start by rooms, like she said, but you start with the room that takes the less cleaning and get it done, and then go to the next. And then you've got the hardest one with the most time, because you hurry through and get it done.
And I've also heard that if you tackle little tasks, like if you have a to-do list for a day and you tackle the littlest task first, then, once something that's simple to do, then you already feel like you're accomplishing something. And then, it kind of gives you that motivation to just keep going. So if you tackled the room that had the less to do, the least to do, then you could just say, okay, well, I've got this room done, on to the next. And then I've heard the reverse to be true, where you tackle the one that's going to take you the most time and be the hardest, and just put it first so that you don't put it off to last, and then, shove everything in the bed under the bed.
I think it depends on your personality, because you get the one that's taking the most time, and you've got all this, and pretty soon you say, I'm never going to get anything done, because you don't feel like you're accomplishing anything. And if you start with the smallest, then you've got it, and you feel like you're accomplishing things. So it tends for you to work more at the others, because
I
you
think
can
so
say,
too.
Yeah.
That'd be the
But
way
it
I would do
depends
it.
on your personality. I
Right.
mean, everybody's different, so.
And this is kind of goes along with that to some degree. It's number 4 was work with your natural rhythms and habits. So, if you are not a morning person, don't get up first thing in the morning and set out for, the biggest
Right.
task, because you're probably just going to fall flat on your face type deal. If you're a night owl and it would work better for you to rest during the day, do, piddly things, and then at night jump on it, then do that. Work with what your rhythms and habits are, and you're likely to get more accomplished by doing that instead of working against it.
Well, I discovered when I took the first job out of the home that my most productive time was in the afternoon. Although I worked swing shift, still the first part of the shift I worked slower than I did the second half of the shift, and I didn't know that until I went to work, and then I discovered that. And
So even
so
at home,
I'm
you did that.
just different from everybody else because everybody I worked with had more production in the morning, but I had more in the afternoon.
Wow, we could really analyze you behind that, but we won't.
And number 5 was conduct a time audit. It says, ever finish up the day and wonder where the time went? If you're self-employed or starting a business, it's critical to understand exactly how you're using your time. So every so often, conduct a detailed audit of your day and keep track of what you do and how long it took. And they can reveal those insights into your habits and your rhythms and to time wasters and.
I think so too. It's a good way is for your money as well. I used to work with a guy, and I mean, he would really, I wouldn't work good in that kind of a relationship with him, but his girlfriend didn't seem to matter to mine, so. But he wrote down every single thing he spent. If he went to the snack machine and got a pack of gum, it went down on his list. I mean, he did that. At the end of every day, he would calculate everything up and put it in a spreadsheet and put, a pie chart to it and just be crazy over it. And he would also, I'm told, like when it was time to, buy new underwear or socks or just whatever, shirts, he'd go to his drawer and he'd look and he'd see how many he'd used and he'd rotate them every 3 days and, just, oh my gosh, that takes up a lot of life.
Can we say OCD? I mean, that's what it sounds like to me. A little bit too much on the organization and auditing of your time, money, everything.
And gum expenditures.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think if he did the time audit, he might reveal that he kind of spent a little bit too much time obsessing over the money he spent on a pack of gum or something from the vending machine and the socks being rotated. Just my opinion.
Yeah, mine too.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Don't sweat the small stuff. Just,
Yeah, I've heard that. Don't sweat.
Yeah. Don't worry
the
about
petty
the pack
stuff.
of gum. Worry about the overindulged evening meal.
Right.
That's where most of the money went. Don't
Yeah.
worry about this nickel or dime.
Yeah. So, Ruthie, what it boils down to is don't sweat the petty stuff and don't pet the sweaty stuff. Right, Mo?
Yeah, I've heard that. And it says to also remember that all work and no play isn't healthy for anyone. So, it's okay to have those down times, like it was saying about your natural rhythms and habits. There are times that you just need to unwind, recharge, and that's okay. And find those times to where you're not, trying to work at the same time, and it's just to relax so that you can be more productive when you're doing the task at hand. So.
And tasks that you do all the time, some of them you enjoy more than others. And if you get to the point where what you're doing is really getting to you and wearing you down, go do something you like to do. Like I like to wash dishes. I mean, that's, some people don't, but I do. Because you can sit there and you can wash those dishes and you don't have to put any thought or anything into it. You can think about all of the good things that's happened to you. You can think of all of the blessings that God has given you. And you can talk to God and tell Him what you're thinking. And so washing dishes to me is my fun time,
Ruthie,
as far as work.
I'd like you to come to my house and have some more time to talk to God. Can we set that up for after the show?
It's a fun time. Come over to my house for a day of fun.
Yep. Day of fun and talking with God. I'm just teasing you.
Is it all about procrastination?
That was all about procrastination that they had on their little list.
And see, if we would have put that at the end where I wanted it to go, we may not have had time for it.
That's right.
So, procrastination.
Because I'm not a speed reader.
No, and since you have to read all your articles instead of looking them up ahead of time and paying more attention to them.
What?
Mom, well, thank you for that glaring insight into my life of procrastination.
No, we didn't have any confessions going on here, really.
Well, if you're a procrastinator, I surely want you to call in or write in or text in at 850-572-7441 or 850-572-7442, which is my number. And also info@newcovenantgroup.com. You can actually let us know that if you are a procrastinator. And they say the first step in becoming better is to admit you have a problem. So I want to hear somebody else that's procrastinator other than me. Okay, host, what would you do next?
Well, here, let me see. We had in the news this week a very strange article, and it was on a woman from Ohio that unknowingly married her father. And I just kind of had to read that and find out more about it. The man was considerably older than her, about 15, 16 years, come to find out from the article. But she was married to the man for several years. They had no kids together. She had kids from a previous marriage. And she heard whispers, and people kind of made whispers and made insinuations as to the fact that the guy might be her dad. She had never known her father. She was raised by her grandparents, really had very little contact with the mom, from what it said. But apparently the man had fathered her when he was 15 years old, and he never knew that he was her father. She said he never let on that he knew anything about having a child or that she was his child. And she said, but thinking about it, she doesn't know if he knew that, if he could have said anything if he found out. Like if somebody said something and he found out, how would you bring that up? I would be upset if he didn't bring it up to me, I'm just saying.
Yeah, but that's something you bring up.
Yeah. She didn't find out till after he passed away. After he passed away, it was brought up to her, or she heard some more talk and decided to find out. And a DNA test was done, and it proved that it was her biological father, who she never knew, and she was married to him for a number of years. And she said, this is the type of thing that can kind of destroy you,
Yeah.
But she said she didn't let it, and she said that she truly believes God got her through it. But it's just kind of a wild thing, and I don't know. What are your thoughts on it?
Ew, number one is my first thought. Gross.
Yeah. I mean, I think I would be like, to these people that had these thoughts on it, why wouldn't you say something sooner, I mean, it didn't specify whether it was like a close friend of hers that thought it or a relative, because like her mother had passed away, both her grandparents had passed away, and, this man didn't know from what, it said. So she really didn't have anybody to go to that knew. And it wasn't until, I guess, somebody, kind of put it out there that it could be, and then she had it tested and found out. So I can't imagine, and I'm sure she probably would get a lot of negative flack, for it. But, in all honesty, if the people had suspicions and they thought, why didn't they say something to her?
Right. I know if I was in that situation and I thought that there was blood relation between the male and female, I would mention it so that if they wanted to, they could check it out.
Right.
Because with adoptions and stuff, especially your closed adoptions, there's a possibility that you could find your brother or half-brother and marry him and not know it. And
Right.
and I think if someone suspects that, they should say something and let it be checked into, but not wait until it's too late to do
Right.
anything about it, so.
And it did say in the article that she had been in contact, or maybe that the other people had contacted her, but it was a brother and sister who had been married, and they found out after they were married that they were brother and sister. And I don't recall whether it said they were half brother and sister, or if they were, exactly how, or if they were full biological brother and sister or what.
I guess it matters. It's still, something that's not appropriate, I wouldn't think,
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know that like a brother and sister really can't have children. It can cause all kinds of deformities and stuff, from what I understand. Maybe I'm wrong about that. I haven't researched it, but I guess I'd seen an article or read something somewhere one time about it, and it might have been, when this situation with the brother and sister had, I think
Yeah.
they were twins actually, is what it was. Found out later they were twins.
Well, you can pretty much figure.
So it's just kind of a,
Well, I mean, some people will think that Adam and Eve, procreated this whole entire world, and how disgusting would that be if you think about it? They had kids, and I mean, what's
and their
the
kids
same?
would have had to have had
Yeah,
kids with
Absolutely.
each other.
People just, they don't think it through, whenever you are talking about these stories in, the Old Testament, any story, if you want to pick one, Noah, Adam and Eve, just all these little stories, you don't think it through about how it's probably just about impossible for it to have happened, or not ethical, or not godly at all.
Yeah.
We just take it, never ask questions as to why. But that's sad, if I guess the kids, that would have been their grandpa and stepdaddy.
Yeah, and she said that was the thing that was probably the hardest, is explaining to the kids how your stepfather was actually your grandfather, and her great-grandchildren, how, that was your great-grandfather, But she said they were all handling it pretty good, and, they don't place any blame on her, and, I think maybe it even said something about her placing the blame on herself, like how, but, I mean, she really, like she said, or like the article said, her close family that would have known the details of things, or could have known details of things, had already passed away. And if he was 15 and, came from a, time frame that, in history where didn't know, or maybe he moved, or, I mean, it didn't go into a whole lot of details as
Yeah.
to how he didn't know, but he was 15.
Well, in the South, we have this thing called the punkle, and that's when your pawpaw is your uncle. They call him your punkle. Y'all think that's funny? Oh, God.
I don't know that I'd heard that term before.
And I hadn't, so
No.
maybe I hadn't lived in the South long enough.
Your punkle. Oh, gosh. All right, Mike.
Moving on.
Okay, that's what a good host would do. Move on.
Alrighty. Let me pull my stuff back up here. I pulled this up because I don't have the best of memories. We need to do a show on memory. Hold on just a second
I
here.
think we were going to do one on memory, but we forgot to do it.
Yeah, we procrastinated too long and then we forgot about it.
We forgot about it.
Just a minute. You might want to.
Well, I know that in our family, Dr. Jones and I, we grew up because to speak of, my uncle married his aunt, over 60 some odd years ago. And so we're just close, and then my sister actually married a cousin of his, and I obviously married we both married into the same family, so crazy.
Yeah, that kind of relationship makes it confusing for children, because I know in Tennessee we had an aunt and an uncle, and this uncle's brother was married, and all of the kids played together, and JR's kids thought that we were related to him because Aunt Martha and Uncle Johnny was our aunt, and it was his aunt, and he thought we were cousins, and we tried to explain it, but
Yeah.
of course, he was younger and he didn't understand. But it's confusing,
It
you
is.
know, that we've got the same relatives, so why aren't we cousins?
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
and people will still say, y'all are cousins, y'all are cousins. Well, no, but back in the day, and even in the South now, you'd call somebody Aunt so-and-so or Uncle
Right.
so-and-so. So it was, Aunt Levon, Uncle Sid,
Mm-hmm.
and then mother-in-law, father-in-law. It's strange. But I don't have a punkle. I want y'all to know that right now.
Okay, we're going to talk about right now 5 signs of gynecological cancer. So if you're a man and you just don't want to hear this, turn the set for a few.
And if you're a man and you turn the set, I am so ashamed of you because I know you have a mama, you might have a grandma,
Sister, aunt.
sister and aunt. But if you turned your head, I know you don't have a wife or a girlfriend because no one would want to have you turn your head, not paying attention to something that would involve one of your loved ones. So maybe your mama still loves you. Listen for her.
But it says most women don't know the signs of gynecological cancers and are especially unaware of symptoms unrelated to just the reproductive organs, such as back pain, increased urination. And it says there are 5 main gynecological cancers: cervical, ovarian, uterine, vaginal, and vulvar. And screening is only recommended for just cervical cancer.
Wow.
So there are 4 others that get missed. So early detection is a key. And it said, that you really should kind of be aware of the symptoms, such as unusual vaginal bleeding or discharge. Of course, they listed the first few there that were the, I said them and I don't even remember them. Lord, see, my mind's slipping.
I'm telling you.
The back pain and the increased urination.
Yeah.
It also mentions pelvic pain that's unexplained, changes in the area,
What area?
the pelvic area. We're talking about that kind of area. Were you following along?
I was trying
She just
to
wants
be
me to
more
say.
specific.
Vaginal itching or burning, back pain or abdominal pain, being tired all the time, like really strong urge to go to the bathroom, and bloating.
Is that
so-
one or 2? Like 2 probably.
2.
Bloating. Okay.
Yeah. So, some of these symptoms we probably, as women, it says just kind of chalk it up to,
Yeah.
stress or whatever, and bloating. It's our time of the month, type thing. But there are things that, if they're a little off, your body could be trying to tell you something.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you have concerns, you need to make sure you make appointments with, your gynecologist and you get checked out, because with any cancer, with any, disease, it seems like the earlier you find out about it and can start treatments, the better chance you have.
Some of those symptoms are the same as for diabetes. So you might think and be checked for diabetes and not even think about the other. So it's something both, you need to make sure your doctor checks both,
Right.
just to be on the safe side, because both can be done, so.
Good tip.
And it said that if you're going to go on the internet, as a lot of people do nowadays, make sure you're using reputable sites.
If you want to go on
It's-
the internet.
Yeah, the internet, to make sure that you're using reputable sites such as the CDC's Inside Knowledge website.
And that's the Center for Disease Control.
Yeah. There's also, like WebMD and different sites like that. And also, don't stress over self-diagnosing yourself. I mean, if you see the symptoms, don't immediately assume you have cancer, but also don't stick it to the side and say, oh, well, it's not important enough for me to see a doctor. Be your advocate for yourself and your health. And take it upon yourself to say, hey, look, I've got to take care of me because nobody else will, and make sure you get treated, because, I think a lot of times as women, we put ourselves on the back burner with stuff like that, because we're worried about making sure the husband or the kids or in-laws or whoever in our lives are the ones taken care of. But how can we take care of them if we don't take care of ourselves? So
Yeah, and we know our bodies better than anybody else if we pay attention to them. A lot of times we don't, but if you do, you know when something's out of line, and you can either just ignore it or you can have it checked out. But since this body was given to you by God, and He expects you to take care of it, if you don't take care of it in the manner that you have the knowledge to take care of it, you're dishonoring God, and or at least that's my opinion. Other people might feel differently, but I feel like, and if you're going to the doctor and you're taking medication or whatever, if you've got certain rules and regulations you need to follow, and you don't follow them, you're wasting your money. Because why buy pills if you're not going to do what you're supposed to?
True.
You're wasting your time, and you're wasting the doctor's time, and
Absolutely.
And I do think that, we ought to, appreciate the fact that God did design our bodies to give
Right.
us these warning signs and these signals. And we may not always know what's going on. We may have something that seems fairly normal, or we chalk it up to one thing, but if it keeps reoccurring or you keep having the issue, along the lines of what Ruth said, dishonoring God, I think that, we're harming ourselves, first
Right.
of all, and we're harming the one body that we've been given.
That's
There
right.
are
It's a
medical and
gift.
yeah, it is a gift. And, there are things that, medical science can do now to, like, prosthetic limbs and things like that, but there are certain things that they're very limited on. And right now, we all know that there's not a cure for cancer, there's not a cure for, an outright cure for diabetes or Alzheimer's and all of these different diseases that are out there, so we have to, be a little bit of diligent and have a little bit of preventative medicine.
Another thing too, especially for young moms, is what are you doing to your children if you let yourself get so sick you can't take care of them?
This is true.
A lot of time young mothers don't think about that. They just say, well, I don't have time to check into this right now. I have to take care of the kids and this type of stuff. But if you really stop and think, if you neglect yourself, in the long run, you may be neglecting your children. So
Not only that, but they learn by example, and so if
Yeah,
they see, that you're not taking care of you, they're learning that that's not as important,
right.
too. So,
Yeah, and it certainly is. All right, host, what you got for us next?
we're not passing the baton yet. I think that may have been all I had.
Oh, I do want to say before you go on to your next topic is our daughter-in-law is on her way back from whence she came, and which is Afghanistan, and she has a few more months there, and I won't say a lot because you're not supposed to really say when they're coming back and when they're not coming back and all this other business. But we had a good time with her, and she's such a good fit to the family. She's really funny, and she takes our son's jokes rather well, and and she seems to be really loves the family. So we're proud of her, and we're proud of what she does for our country, and also for what she does for our family. And I know our son misses her so much already. He leaves tomorrow to go back to Italy, and hopefully they'll be together soon.
Yeah, I can't imagine being that far away from, your spouse. They're newly married, but just, I know how much I rely on my husband and how much he relies on me. I mean, he'd probably starve to death.
Oh, yeah.
Throwing him under the bus there. But you know what I'm saying. It's just we come to rely on those, our spouse, and when they're not around or we can't have them to just go to, it really makes a difference, And even if I don't see my husband for a whole day, just the knowledge that he's at the house, or that, I'm going to be with him soon and get to see him. And for me, it just makes a difference. It really does. And I know that they keep in contact the best they can, but they're like worlds away from each other, and have been for some time, and still have several months left to go.
Yeah.
So, and then not only that, on top of that, both of them have hazardous jobs. They both work as military police. But her right now being in Afghanistan, you know. So we do all need to pray for her and pray for them. It's a hard situation, especially for newlyweds.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I'm thinking that was probably all I had.
Well, tell me what you can do for Joey. In case you don't know, Joey is our son and her husband, and I want to know what you're going to do for him for his birthday. You have anything special planned?
Well, I think he's actually going to take a day off. Shh.
Oh.
Did y'all hear that? He might actually take a day off. He works really hard. And I think he's actually going to take a little bit of time off, and I think that we're just going to kind of maybe lay around, take the day as it comes. I think he has a trip to Starbucks planned. So he said his big gift this year was, replacing a computer that he needed. So, but I'm sure he'll get a little something,
A little something.
So.
Okay, let me ask y'all this. And I know y'all don't know a lot about this subject, but we're going to talk about it anyway for the next 5 minutes or so. There's a show on called Honey Boo Boo. Here Comes Honey Boo Boo. And it's so funny. But it's about people from Georgia, and they could be from anywhere, really. I heard Jimmy Kimmel, I think it was him, he said they're basically like the Kardashians, but a little less teeth and a little less IQ and something else. But it was funny. But it's a child that was on the show called Toddlers and Tiaras, and she tried to participate in a beauty pageant or little kids pageant, But I guess the family was so interesting or funny, they pulled them to make a new show called Here Comes Honey Boo Boo, and the little girl's name is Alana, but they call her Honey Boo Boo. And she has like 3 sisters, maybe, or 4 sisters, and a daddy and a mama. And the daddy's name is Sugar Bear, and she calls him Sugar Bear. And the mama's funny. They said that she looks like a human thumb. That's what one person said.
I haven't seen the show.
But they're country, and they eat improperly, and they pass gas all the time, and they eat off the floor. They eat crazy foods, non-nutritious things. But, at the end of the day, it looks like they're a happy little family. I mean, and they do some crazy things, but they're from a little town in Georgia. I want to say McIntyre or somewhere like that. I'm not exactly sure. But the whole country is a buzz about them. My mom, she watched it a couple times. She thought it was funny, but after just a couple times, then she started having bad feelings about it, like they were really making fun of this family, and the family didn't really know it yet, But I think they do know it. So would you let somebody come into your home and make fun of you for money?
No, I got plenty of people who'll do it for free. I just have to invite my in-laws, and not just my in-laws, like my mother-in-law, father-in-law, but my brother-in-laws.
Yeah, that's true.
They'll be happy to come over anytime and do it for free.
But money-wise, I mean.
No, I mean, I think I value a little bit more privacy. I can't say that I'd want a film crew in my home, filming details of my life. I mean, there's plenty of people out there that do, and I can't say that I've never watched a reality show and chuckled at somebody else, something stupid they said or did or whatever. But I myself, no, I can't ever see myself doing that. And I imagine that there is a good bit of people just laughing it up over a family that does kind of outlandish things. Honestly, I think every family has a little bit of their,
I do too.
that oddest, odd nature, odd things they do. But no, I wouldn't want somebody in my home doing that. And I haven't watched the show, so I can't speak about the show. But, several of those things you said I was like, oh, okay, but the eating off the floor, I'm not real sure about that.
Well, they spilled like a big barrel of cheese balls, and I've seen y'all bring big barrels of cheese balls in this place before. But they had a big barrel. You've seen a big barrel of cheese balls in here.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
I didn't bring
So
it.
we're halfway there to being Honey Boo Boo, and then they drop the thing of cheese balls. That's breakfast. Okay, so they drop it on the floor, and the mama's like, I can talk a little bit like her, but she's like, in my normal life, I talk like her. But she's like, y'all gonna pick those things up off the floor because those things cost $3 and something cent, and we're not gonna waste that. And so she wanted them to pick them off the floor, but then they just started eating them off the floor. The kids, instead of putting them, they just started eating them off the floor. And the mama just laughed at them, she just laughs. And then the one girl came up to the mama and she said, Mama, look at that rust around your neck. And the camera did a close-up of the mom's neck and one of her rolls right here. It was just like in the South when we were kids, my mom would call them, you have a necklace on or beads or whatever. Cause your neck
Potato rows.
Yeah, you could plant potatoes in your neck creases, but you'd just sweat and you'd get dirt. But she had like rusty colored strings around her neck, and
She had the old cheap chains, and they kind of oxidized on her.
that could have been that or just funk. It was nasty looking. I'll be honest with you, but she just laughed. I mean, it seemed like she was good natured about everything, and
That's what she did on camera. What happened after the camera was off? Did she back in or go, don't be talking and call me out like that?
I don't know, or she could
Just
have
saying.
got in the corner and cried,
Could have been.
a sad cry.
It's okay to laugh at things that happen rather than to get mad and yell and scream. It's much better to laugh, but I'm not for any kind of show that makes fun and puts down other people in the way that they are. God made us all like we are. He loves us just as we are.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think, maybe I'm old-fashioned, I don't know, but I don't think we should make fun of people. There's so much that we see and we allow our children to see, and then we wonder why there's so much stuff that's happening, so much crime, so much death. We don't teach them love. We don't force our entertainment world either. We let them do whatever they want to do, and that's okay because they're famous. It just breaks my heart to see how we're raising our children these days. It breaks my heart.
Talking about the Batman shooting.
Yes.
Ruthie and I have spoken of this before about, so much violence in cartoons and games and play.
That's mostly what our children see is they see people shooting and killing each other. In movies, they see it in their games. I don't know a whole lot about games, but I've seen some that my great-grandkids played, and I would not allow it if I was the authority in the home.
Right.
And also, we don't teach our children love. We teach our children, okay, if you do this wrong, God's going to thump you into hell. So that kid, they don't know anything about love, and until we do away with some of this, we're going to be in a lot of hurt on this earth.
Right. I agree with that.
Yeah, I think there is too much emphasis on, some of the shows that are out there. They really like the ones that involve a lot of teenagers. You see a lot of promoting relationships at such a young age.
Right.
10, 11-year-old kids having boyfriend, girlfriends, and all about their breakups and this, that, and the other. And then you have them to where people say stuff, and it's like immediately you have another one that just kind of like pops off with something smart. And I remember my niece not too long ago was talking with my daughter, and we were in the car, and she said something, and then she said, "Rachel, you didn't do a comeback," or whatever she called it. And I was like, "Look, she's 7. She don't need to learn how to have a wise comic, because she doesn't know the difference between doing that for fun and playing with you or
Right.
talking to me like that."
Right.
Right.
And they learn enough about being disrespectful you know, and then there's so much of it that really is on TV. You know, it seems like every show, and it's, in a sense, it's funny to watch, but at the same time, they're picking it up. You know,
Yeah.
it's not like we can watch it as adults and go, you know, that's not a good way to be.
Yeah.
Kids don't have that same filter.
Yeah.
It comes with maturity, and
Sure.
most of
Right.
the kids don't have it, so they're
Right.
picking it up, and that's the way that they're talking. And it's not only that's the way they're talking with each other, that's the way they're talking with their family, that's the way they're talking with their teachers. And it's creating problems, I do believe.
Yeah.
Really
You know,
is. We need to be more careful concerning the things our kids watch and see. Not to be just so crazy about it, but you can tell. You know what you want your kids to behave like, you know, and you know what you want them to do.
and I think the thing is being educated about what they are watching and seeing, whether it be in your home or somebody else's home, and not, I mean, you can't keep them in a bubble and keep them away from everything. I read an article on that. Actually, it was on Facebook. I saw a quote, and it was on Stephanie Bucher's Facebook page, and it had to do mainly with like germs and religious ideas and stuff, but I think it can kind of be said for everything, and I can't, you know, remember the exact quote, but it was something about like keeping them isolated and away from every idea that could influence them is just like keeping them away from every germ. It'll end up doing more harm than good,
Right.
Yeah.
you know. And maybe I'll have that quote for you next week. I should have had it this week, but, you know,
Yeah,
the
but
conversation just kind of went this way.
As parents, we need to be able to talk to our children and about what they have seen and stuff, and explain how this is not really the best behavior or best way to be. And
Right.
if we keep lines open with our children, it makes it better. So,
That's right, and that means sitting down with your child and, you know, looking at their books, looking at their games, looking at the TV with them. And so just be more involved. Okay, we're going to close for now, but I want you to please stay tuned for the rest of the day. We have such an awesome lineup. At 3 o'clock, we have William Torres. He will be speaking on The Perfect Bond. That's the name of his show, and it's in Spanish, actually. So if you have any Spanish speaking or hearing people only, that would be a great show for them to watch. Also, right after that, we have Joey and Matt. They have their
T-Bog, the beginnings of greatness.
the beginnings of greatness, T-Bog, not to be confused with anything similar of nature. But they are really going to have I think they're going to have a guest, actually, this time. And 5 o'clock, we have What Would Love Do from our New Covenant group, Texas. And that's the name of their show. 6 o'clock, very interesting, Greg Bray, our resident atheist. Well, not really, because Zach is really our resident atheist. But Greg Bray has a show called Inspiring Honesty, and today Alan Darley will be on it, as well as Bob Graves, I believe, and they will be having a debate. And so I'm looking forward to that so much. And, of course, after that, we have the Unconventional Pastor, and he will have on the Naked Pastor. So we will find out what they're going to be up to. 8 o'clock, as always, Dr. Jones and I will be on tonight with Greg Bray and Bob Graves as our special guest. And so anyway, we've got a big afternoon, big evening, and let's get ready for it. So thank you, ladies, so much. Next week, Monica will be up here, I'm sure, with Ruthie and Kimberly, and there'll be a great show for next week. All right, we'll see.
Be sick next Sunday.
See you when we see you.
She didn't just say that, y'all.
She did say she's gonna be sick next Sunday.
I know, we'll have to get her.
I'm only teasing.
I know where she lives.